Have you ever worked so relentlessly that your hands cramped, your mind went numb, but the results never materialized? Maybe you practiced for hours every day, but never progressed. Maybe you followed every tutorial you found, but nothing improved. Maybe you wondered, am I just not talented enough? Is excellence only for other people? Here's the truth nobody tells you. Hard work without the right guidance is like navigating without a map. You can walk 1,000 miles, but you'll never reach your destination. If you've ever felt like you're climbing a mountain alone in the dark, this story is for you. Because once there was a young woman who practiced harder than anyone, but failed every time. Until she met the teacher who changed everything. Stay with me until the end. In a coastal town where fog rolled through narrow streets and music echoed from old churches, there lived a 27-year-old woman named Kira Volkov. Kira had one dream that consumed every waking moment: to become a concert violinist and honor the memory of someone she'd lost. Her mother had been a gifted violinist who performed in regional orchestras. When Kira was 15, her mother died of cancer. On her final day, she'd held Kira's hand and whispered, "Promise me you'll finish what I started. Promise me you'll make music that matters." That promise haunted Kira every single night. So Kira made a vow to her mother's memory. She would become exceptional. She would never let the music die. For 4 years, Kira practiced alone in an abandoned church on the edge of town. Every morning before dawn, she played scales until her fingers blistered. She practiced difficult passages hundreds of times until her bow arm trembled and gave out. She studied recordings of masters and tried to copy their techniques. People in town saw her dedication and whispered, "That girl works harder than anyone I've ever seen." But there was another whisper too. But why does she never improve? 4 years of practice, thousands of hours of effort and pain, Kira was still mediocre. When she auditioned for the regional orchestra, they rejected her immediately. When she performed at local recitals, people applauded politely but without enthusiasm. Her playing was technically correct, but emotionally empty. Her tone was harsh. Her phrasing was mechanical. Kira would return home each night, her fingers raw and her spirit shattered. She didn't understand. She was working harder than everyone else. She woke earlier. She practiced longer. She never quit. So why was she failing? Her father would find her sitting in the dark, staring at her mother's old violin. "Maybe I'm just not talented," she whispered. "Maybe some people are born to be ordinary." He would touch her shoulder gently. "You have your mother's heart, sweetheart. You just haven't found your path yet." But Kira didn't believe him. After 4 years of effort with no results, she was starting to believe that hard work was a lie people told to make failure feel noble. Maybe you've felt this way. Putting in the hours but seeing no progress. Starting to believe you're fundamentally lacking something others were born with. One winter morning, the town held its annual music competition. Musicians from across the region would showcase their abilities. Kira decided this would be her moment to prove herself. She had prepared for this day for months. She knew her piece perfectly, every note memorized, every dynamic marked. She had practiced 8,000 times. This time, she told herself, would be different. But when Kira stepped onto the stage, everything collapsed. Her first movement, which she'd practiced 1,000 times alone, sounded stiff and lifeless in front of the audience. Her intonation was slightly off. Her vibrato was too tight. She could hear whispers in the crowd. Is she really that weak after 4 years? All that effort for nothing. Hard work doesn't matter without natural talent. Then came the comparison performance. Kira had to play alongside a conservatory student who'd trained for only 18 months. The difference was crushing. The other performer's playing was expressive, nuanced, alive. Kira's was mechanical and empty. Within 45 seconds of the side-by-side comparison, the judges stopped her. "Thank you, Ms. Volkov. That will be sufficient." Sufficient. The word meant you've failed, but we're being polite. Kira walked home alone through freezing rain, her concert dress soaked and mud-stained. Her father wasn't home. She sat in the empty house, and for the first time in 4 years, she broke down completely. Not tears of pain, tears of hopelessness. "I gave everything," she said to the silence. "I sacrificed sleep, I endured pain, I never quit, and it meant nothing." She looked at her mother's violin on the wall, the instrument that had inspired her vow. All those hours, all that blood, all that determination, worthless. That night, Kira made a decision. Tomorrow morning, she would sell her mother's violin. She would accept that some promises can't be kept. She would stop torturing herself with impossible dreams. Hard work, she had learned, is meaningless without talent, and she had none. But before dawn, before Kira could take down the violin, she heard a sound. Someone was playing in the abandoned church. An elderly woman, perhaps 68 years old, stood in Kira's practice space, examining the worn marks on the floor where Kira had stood for thousands of hours. 4 years of dedication, the woman said without turning around. "I can see it in every scuff mark on these floorboards. Determination, persistence, pain." She finally turned to face Kira. "But I also see something else. I see that you have been practicing alone, and that, young woman, is why you are still mediocre." Kira felt anger flash through her chest. "And who are you to judge me?" The woman smiled gently. "My name is Sofia Reyes. I watched your performance yesterday. I saw a young woman with the soul of a musician and the technique of a beginner. You work harder than students who surpass you easily. Do you know why they succeed and you struggle?" Kira's anger faded to desperate curiosity. "Because they have talent and I don't?" "No," Sophia said firmly. "Because they have teachers. And you don't." Sophia walked to the old piano in the corner and played a single note. The sound was rich, clear, perfect. "You see," Sophia said, "this piano is badly out of tune, but I know exactly how to touch it to make it sing. You've been practicing on this same piano for 4 years, but you don't know how to make it respond." She picked up Kira's violin and examined it. "This instrument is crying out for proper care. The strings are old, the bridge is misaligned, the sound post is shifted." Sophia adjusted the bridge slightly, tightened one string, and drew the bow across. The sound that emerged was transformed, warm, resonant, alive. Kira's eyes widened. That's my violin?" "This has always been your violin," Sophia said. "The instrument is fine, but you've been playing it wrong. Effort without understanding is just wasted energy." Sophia set the violin down carefully. "For 4 years, you have given maximum effort with minimum understanding. You wake early, but you practice incorrect techniques. You train for hours, but you reinforce mistakes that make you worse, not better. You endure pain, but pain without progress is just suffering." She looked directly at Kira. "Hard work is not enough. Hard work in the wrong direction makes you worse, not better. You become excellent at doing things incorrectly." Kira felt something shift inside her. For 4 years, she'd blamed herself for lacking talent. She'd never considered that her methods were broken. "Can you teach me?" Kira asked quietly. "The right way?" Sophia studied her for a long moment. "I can, but you must understand something first. Learning the right way is harder than practicing the wrong way. Because you must first unlearn everything you've taught yourself. You must become a beginner again. Can your ego handle that? Kira dropped to her knees. My ego was destroyed yesterday. I have nothing left to protect. Please, teach me. Sophia nodded. Then we begin now. And I promise you this. In 8 months of correct training, you will surpass 4 years of incorrect effort. But only if you trust the process, even when it feels backwards. The next morning, Sophia's instruction began, and immediately Kira understood what the master meant. Stop, Sophia said after Kira's first note. Everything you just did was wrong. For the first week, Kira was not allowed to play music. She only practiced holding the violin, just holding it, feeling its weight, finding the natural position. Maestra, I've already practiced for 4 years. Why am I learning to hold the instrument? Because, Sophia replied, a house built on a weak foundation will always collapse. We must build your foundation first. Week 2. Kira learned to hold the bow correctly, to feel the natural balance point. Week 3. She learned to draw the bow with her whole arm, not just her wrist. Week 4. She finally played her first note with Sophia's technique, and it felt completely wrong. Weak, awkward, different from the 4,000 hours she'd practiced alone. Good, Sophia said. Now you are beginning to feel what correct technique feels like. It feels strange because your muscle memory remembers the wrong way. Some days, Kira felt like she was regressing. The old wrong techniques felt more powerful than these new correct ones. She almost quit several times. But Sophia would say, trust the process. The seed looks dead before it sprouts. Month 3. Something clicked. Sophia's techniques suddenly felt natural. And then Kira noticed, when she played at local venues, musicians who used to ignore her now stopped to listen. Month 4. Kira's tone had genuine warmth, not because she was pressing harder, but because the pressure was applied correctly. 20% of effort was giving her triple the results. Month 5. Other musicians began asking Kira for advice. The same people who had dismissed her 8 months ago now watched her with respect. Month 6. Kira's playing moved people to tears. Month 8. Sophia arranged a rematch. The same competition, the same piece, the same judges. And this time Kira played like water flowing. Every note was intentional. Every phrase breathed. Every dynamic told a story. When she finished, the hall was silent. Then the applause began. The conservatory student who had outperformed her a year ago approached afterward. How did you transform so completely in 8 months? I've been training for 3 years and I can't play like that. Kira looked at Sophia, who smiled knowingly. The difference, Kira said, is that I spent 4 years learning what doesn't work, and 8 months learning what does. Hard work only matters when you're working hard on the right things. 2 years later, Kira performed as a soloist with the regional orchestra. She also began teaching young musicians in the same abandoned church where she'd struggled alone. Above the entrance, she carved words Sophia had taught her. Effort without guidance is like navigating without a map. You may move, but you'll never reach your destination. My friend, Kira's story is your story. It's my story. It's the story of every person who has worked incredibly hard, but felt like they were going nowhere. Here's what Kira learned, and what you need to understand. Hard work is necessary, but hard work alone is not sufficient. You can spend 10 years practicing an instrument incorrectly and never create beauty. Or you can spend 1 year with the right teacher and make music that moves people to tears. You can study every night for months and fail exams if your study methods are wrong. Or you can learn correct techniques and master the material with less effort. Remember 3 principles. First, if you're working hard but not seeing results, the problem isn't your effort. The problem is your method. You need guidance, not more hours. Second, the right teacher isn't the one who pushes you harder. The right teacher is the one who corrects what you're doing wrong. Sometimes that means slowing down. Sometimes that means starting over. Sometimes that means doing less, not more. Third, there is no shame in needing help. The greatest masters in history all had teachers. Seeking guidance isn't weakness, it's wisdom. So here's what I want you to do. Look at the area of your life where you're working hard but not improving. Maybe it's your career, maybe it's your health, maybe it's a skill you're trying to learn, maybe it's your relationships. Ask yourself honestly, am I working hard in the wrong direction? Then, and this is the crucial part, find someone who has succeeded where you're struggling. A mentor, a coach, a teacher, someone who can see what you can't see because you're too close to your own efforts. Your hard work is not wasted. Every hour you've invested has given you something valuable. It has shown you what doesn't work. Now you're ready to learn what does. The right teacher doesn't make you work harder. The right teacher makes your hard work finally matter. If this story touched you, if you've ever felt like Kira working hard but going nowhere, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes people need permission to ask for help. Sometimes they need to know that seeking guidance isn't giving up, it's leveling up. Drop a comment and tell me, what area of your life needs the right teacher right now? Let's learn from each other. I'll be back with another story to help you grow. Until then, remember this. Work hard, but work smart. And never be too proud to learn. The right teacher is waiting. Are you ready to find them?